Namaskar. Global distribution of plants. Introduction. Plants, also called green plants, Viridiplantae in Latin, are living multicellular organisms of the kingdom Plantae. They form a clade that includes the flowering plants, conifers and other gymnosperms, ferns, club mosses, hornworts, liverworts, mosses and the green algae. Plants are often the dominant physical and structural component of habitats where they occur. Many of the Earth's biomes are named for the type of vegetation because plants are the dominant organisms in the biomes such as grasslands and forests. The plants are distributed worldwide in varying numbers, while they inhabit a multitude of biomes and ecoregions. A few can be found beyond the tundras at the northernmost regions of continental shelves. At the southern extremes, plants have adapted tenaciously to the prevailing conditions. The study of plant uses by people is termed as economic botany or ethnobotany. Some people consider the economic botany to focus on modern cultivated plants, while ethnobotany focuses on indigenous plants cultivated and used by native people. Human cultivation of plants is part of agriculture, which is the basis of human civilization. The plant agriculture is subdivided into agronomy, horticulture and forestry. In this episode, the following 5 modules have been discussed here. They are plant ecology, phytogeography, shrubs, trees and woody plants, global distribution, importance. Plant ecology. The plant ecology is a subdiscipline of ecology which studies the distribution and abundance of plants. The effects of environmental factors on the abundance of plants, the interaction among and between plants and other organisms. Examples of these are the distribution of temperate deciduous forests in North America, the effects of drought or flooding upon plant survival and competition among desert plants for water. The effects of herds of grazing animals upon the composition of grasslands. The green plants have cell walls with cellulose. They obtain most of their energy from sunlight via photosynthesis using chlorophyll contained in chloroplasts. This gives green color. Some plants are parasitic and have lost the ability to produce normal amounts of chlorophyll or to photosynthesize. Plants are characterized by sexual reproduction, modular and intermediate growth and an alteration of generations, although asexual reproduction is common. The global overview of the Earth's major vegetation types is provided by O.W. Archibald. He recognizes 11 major vegetation types: tropical forests, tropical savannas, arid regions, Mediterranean ecosystems, temperate forest ecosystems, temperate grasslands, coniferous forests, tundra, terrestrial wetlands, freshwater ecosystems and coastal or marine systems. This breadth of topics shows the complexity of plant ecology since it includes plants from floating single-celled algae up to large canopy forming trees. The plant communities are broadly distributed into biomes based on the form of the dominant plant species. For example, grasslands are dominated by grasses, while forests are dominated by trees. Biomes are determined by regional climates, mostly temperature and precipitation, and follow general latitudinal trends. Within biomes, there may be many ecological communities which are impacted not only by climate and a variety of smaller scale features, including soil, hydrology, and disturbance regime. Biomes also change with elevation, high elevations often resembling those found at higher latitudes. The term phytogeography derived from Greek word meaning plant distribution. It is the branch of biogeography that is concerned with the geographic distribution of plant species and their influence on the Earth's surface. Phytogeography is concerned with all aspects of plant distribution, from the controls on the distribution of individual species, ranges at both large and small scales, to the factors that govern the composition of entire communities and floras. Geobotany, by contrast, focuses on the geographic space's influence on plants. The phytogeography is a branch of botany and physical geography that studies the geographic distribution of plants. The main objects of plant geography are ranges of species and larger taxonomic units, and floras. Phytochorology is a branch of plant geography specifically concerned with ranges. Floristic plant geography studies floras. The relationship between plant distribution and environmental conditions is investigated to ecological plant geography. However, it is not necessary to consider this as a separate branch, because the study of ranges and floras inevitably includes the consideration of ecological matters. In a broad interpretation of plant geography, ecological plant geography also includes the study of plant communities and their distribution on the Earth. This is now the object of an independent botanical discipline known as geobotany. A separate field is historical or genetic plant geography, which is considered with the history of floras, settlement of plants, and so forth in relation to the general evolution of the plant world and the history of the Earth. Shrub, trees, and woody plants. Shrub. The shrub is distinguished from a tree by its multiple stems and shorter height, usually under 6 meters tall. Plants of many species may grow either into shrubs or trees, depending on their growing conditions. Small low shrubs, generally less than 2 meters tall, such as lavender, periwinkle, and most small garden varieties of roses, are often termed sub-shrubs or bushes. An area of cultivated shrubs in a park or garden is known as a shrubbery. When clipped as topiary, suitable species or variety of shrubs develop dense foliage and many small leafy branches growing close together. Many shrubs respond well to renewal pruning, in which hard cutting back to a stool results in long new stems known as canes. Other shrubs respond better to selective pruning to reveal their structure and character. Shrubs in common garden practice are generally considered broad-leaved plants, though some smaller conifers such as mountain pine and common juniper are also shrubby in structure. Species that grow into a shrubby habit may be either deciduous or evergreen. Trees. In botany, a tree is a perennial plant with an elongated stem or trunk supporting leaves or branches. In some usages, the definition of a tree may be narrower. Plants that are usable as lumber or only plants above a specified height. At its broadest, trees include the taller plants, the tree ferns, bananas, and bamboo. A tree typically has many secondary branches supported clear off the ground by the trunk. This trunk typically contains woody tissue for strength and vascular tissue to carry materials from one part of the tree to another. For most trees, it is surrounded by a layer of bark which serves as a protective barrier. The trees tend to be long-lived, some reaching several thousand years old. Trees have been in existence on the earth for 370 million years. Woody plant. It is a plant that produces wood as its structural tissue. Woody plants are usually either trees, shrubs, or lianas. These are usually perennial plants whose stems and larger roots are reinforced with wood produced from secondary xylem. The main stem, larger branches, and roots of these plants are usually covered by a layer of bark. Wood is a structural cellular adaptation that allows woody plants to grow from above ground stems year after year, thus making some woody plants the largest and tallest terrestrial plants. The wood is primarily composed of xylem cells with cell walls made of cellulose and lignin. Xylem is a vascular tissue which moves water and nutrients from the roots to the leaves. Most woody plants form new layers of woody tissue each year and so increase their stem diameter from year to year. The new wood deposited on the inner side of a vascular cambium layer located immediately beneath the bark. However, in some monocotyledons such as palms and dracaenas, the wood is formed in bundles scattered through the interior of the trunk. The woody herbs are herbaceous plants that develop hard woody stems. They include such plants as Uraria picta and certain species in family Polygonaceae. These herbs are not truly woody but have hard, densely packed stem tissue. Other herbaceous plants have woody stems called as caudex, which is a thickened stem base often found in plants that grow in alpine or dry environments. Under specific conditions, woody plants may decay or may in time become petrified wood. The study of the spatial distribution of plants and vegetation and of the environmental relationships which may influence these distributions. Plant geography is also known as phytogeography, phytochorology, geobotany, geographical botany, or vegetation science. In the past, classifying the flora and fauna into regions was primarily a descriptive event. Today, however, biogeographic classifications like biological taxonomy is not an end in itself but rather a means to understanding the causative factors involved in evolution. Flora. There are 6 floral kingdoms: Boreal, Paleotropical, Neotropical, South African, Australian and Antarctic are commonly distinguished. These kingdoms are further broken down into sub-kingdoms and regions. The following arrangement is based on the work of Ronald Good. The Boreal or Holarctic Kingdom consists of Eurasia and North America, which essentially have been a contiguous mass since the Eocene epoch. The narrow Bering Strait between Siberia and Alaska has existed only since the end of the Pleistocene. It is no surprise that the differences between the flora of these two continents are minor. This kingdom is divided into 6 regions. Arctic and Subarctic Region. This region is the boreal tundra zone extending from Spitsbergen around the shores of the Arctic Ocean through Siberia and Arctic North America to Greenland. Flowering plants in this region are poor in diversity, but cryptogams are more diverse. East Asian Region. The East Asian or Sino-Japanese region, which has about 300 endemic genera, extends from the slope of the eastern Himalayas into northeastern China and the Russia Far East, including Taiwan, Japan and Sakhalin Islands. In this region, tropical rainforest to the south merges into deciduous forest to the north. Characteristic plant families are Lauraceae, Magnolaceae and Theaceae. There are numerous endemic genera, Berberis, Rhododendron and Juniperus are characteristic mountain genera. Western and Central Asian Region. The centered on the desert steppes of Central Asia and Mongolia. This floristic zone consists of 200 or more endemic genera and extends from the Caucasus to the plateau of Tibet, with arid zone plants of the family Ctenopodaceae and genera such as Salix, Astragalus and Pichia. Mediterranean region. The Mediterranean region is the winter rainfall zone of the Holarctic Kingdom. It is characterized by cerulophyllous plants, mainly of the scrubland type known as mecus. It is difficult to define, however, because many of its characteristic plants are centered around but not confined to this region. The region extends entirely around the Mediterranean from Portugal to Syria. Some classifications place the Canary Islands, which contain a subtropical rainforest biome, Euro-Siberian region. The Euro-Siberian region extends from Iceland around most of Europe via Siberia to Kamchatka. Conifers of family Pinaceae, Pinus, Larix, Picea and Abace grow in vast monospecific stands and give way to temperate deciduous forests to the south, tundra to the north and moorlands. The western part of the region is much richer in species than the eastern part. There are about 100 genera that are endemic to Europe, with only 12 endemic to Siberia. North American region. The vegetation to the east of the Bering Strait in the North American region closely resembles that to the west. In the Euro-Siberian region, with slight variations, the conifer genera Tsuga, Sequoia and others replace their Euro-Siberian counterparts, and there are 9 endemic families of flowering plants. Paleotropical. This kingdom extends from Africa, excluding strips along the northern and southern edges, through the Arabian Peninsula, India and Southeast Asia, eastward into the Pacific. The plant families that extend over much of the region include the families Pandanaceae and Nepenthaceae. The flora in this huge region, however, is not homogeneous. 98% of species of Hawaiian flora are endemic, as are 70% of Fijian flora species and 60% of the floral species of New Caledonia. Malaysian subkingdom. This subkingdom encompasses the islands of Southeast Asia and the Malay Peninsula, extending as far east as the mainland of the New Guinea. The region boasts approximately 400 endemic genera, of which 130 genera are found in the Western Division, 50 in the Southern Division and 150 in the Eastern Division. The biome types range from tropical rainforests to montane and cloud forests, with drier biome types in areas of the Southern Division. Indo-African subkingdom. Indo-African subkingdom, curiously, little distinction is to be made between the flora of Africa and the Indian subcontinent, Myanmar and southern China. These areas are narrowly connected by a corridor running through the Arabian Peninsula and southern Iran. The flora of the island of Madagascar is the most divergent in the region and is often regarded as forming a separate region. The island has 12 endemic families and 350 endemic genera. About 50 endemic genera define a desert zone extending from the Sahara to the northwestern India. Polynesian subkingdom. In many respects, the Pacific Islands are outliners of Malaysia, but each of the 4 main divisions within the Polynesian subkingdom, Hawaii, the remaining portion of Polynesia, Melanesia and Micronesia, and New Caledonia, with Lord Howe and Norfolk Islands, has a high number of endemic taxa. Hawaii has more than 40 endemic genera. Polynesia, excluding Hawaii, has almost 20. The division of Melanesia and Micronesia has 38, with 17 confined to Fiji, and New Caledonia has 135 among a total of 600 genera native to the island. Neotropical. Essentially, the Neotropical kingdom covers all but the extreme southern tip and southwestern strip of South America, Central America, Mexico, excluding the dry north and center, and beyond to the West Indies and the southern tip of Florida. The vegetation ranges from tropical rainforest in the Amazon and Orinoco basins to open savanna in Venezuela and Argentina. 47 families and nearly 3,000 genera of flowering plants are endemic to this kingdom. Some families, including Bromeliaceae and Cactaceae, are virtually confined to this kingdom. South African. The South African or Kepensic kingdom consists of the southern and southwestern tip of Africa. The area around the Cape of Good Hope, it is remarkably rich in plants. 11 families and 500 genera are endemic. This is the smallest of the phytogeographic kingdoms. This general aspect of the vegetation is akin to the scrubland vegetation of that region. At the edges of this tiny restricted zone, the flora merges into the typical flora of Africa, Paleotropical. Australian Kingdom. The continent of Australia forms a kingdom sharply distinct from the Paleotropic. The rainforest biomes from tropical in the north that include monsoon forests to temperate in the far south, especially Tasmania, occur along the eastern seaboard. Much of the vegetation is semi-arid or adapted to the dryness. Antarctic Kingdom. This kingdom includes the southern tip of South America extending some distance north along the Chilean coast, New Zealand and the Antarctic and SubAntarctic islands. Antarctic and Paleotropical flora occur in an interesting and interdigitating pattern in South Island of New Zealand, Tasmania and the Australian Alps. SubAntarctic Region. Southern Chile, Patagonia and New Zealand comprise the SubAntarctic region. It has a distinctive forest flora of which Neotropical is perhaps the most characteristic element. Antarctic Region. The Antarctic region includes the Antarctic islands and areas on the margin of the continent. The flora of this region is exceedingly impoverished. In general, flowering plants do not survive the harsh climate well, and mosses and other cryptogams form the main element. Traces of true Antarctic flora can be found at higher altitudes in New Zealand and southern Australia, especially Tasmania. Importance. The study of plants is vital because they underpin almost all animal life on Earth by generating a large proportion of the oxygen and food that provide humans and other organisms with aerobic respiration with chemical energy they need to exist. Plants, algae and cyanobacteria are the major groups of organisms that carry out photosynthesis, a process that uses the energy of sunlight to convert water and carbon dioxide into sugars that can be used both as a source of chemical energy and of organic molecules that are used in the structural components of cells. Much of human nutrition depends on plants, either directly or indirectly. Thousands of plant species are cultivated for aesthetic purposes as well as to provide shade, modify temperatures, reduce wind, abate noise, provide privacy and prevent soil erosion. The three rings are an important method of dating in archaeology and serve as a record of past climates. Among the important botanical questions of the 21st century are the roles of plants as primary producers in the global cycling of life's basic ingredients: energy, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen and water, and ways that our plant stewardship can help address the global environmental issues of resource management, conservation, human food security, biological invasive organisms, carbon sequestration, climate change and sustainability. Summary. Trees play a significant role in reducing erosion and moderating the climate. They remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and store large quantities of carbon in their tissues. Trees and forests provide a habitat for many species of animals and plants. The tropical rainforests are one of the most biodiverse habitats in the world. Trees provide shade and shelter, timber for construction, fuel for cooking and heating, and fruits for food, as well as having many other uses. In parts of the world, forests are shrinking as trees are cleared to increase the amount of land available for agriculture. Because of their longevity and usefulness, trees have always been revered and they play a role in many of the world's mythologies. Thank you.